All right, so a lot of you know me already just from my posts and my videos, and some of you don't, and maybe this is your first Narcovery video. If it is, welcome, thank you. And a lot of you are my clients or former clients who are working with me or have worked with me, and just follow my feed for day-to-day inspiration. So thank you for that. Thank you for trusting me, and thank you for your support afterwards. And for everybody else who hasn't worked with me, how would you like to meet one of my clients? Today, I'm so happy to introduce someone that I'm just so glad agreed to share his experiences. So I hadn't spoken to Noah in some time, so I just reached out to see how he was doing and just to check in on him. Then I asked if he wouldn't mind sharing his Narcovery recovery with my followers. So and I'm so grateful he did. He's a therapist, and remember, therapists are people too, and they too find themselves in toxic relationships. So there you have it. It's like you're not alone. And these toxic relationships, they sneak up on you just like they did with Noah. And I'm thrilled to share his story and his unique perspective as a therapist into the field of my coaching practice. He was searching for a way to overcome his situation, like many of you are, and find a path towards recovery. He showed up for himself and is a testament to the power of resilience, determination, and the importance of healing and self-care. His journey demonstrates that with support, you can achieve results and find more peace in your life and happiness and just inner strength. It's my hope that by listening to Noah's story, you'll get a better sense for who I am and how I work and kind of the results that I get from real clients. So listen closely, be inspired, and understand that your own healing journey is within reach. All right, well, that's enough for me. Here's Noah.
Yeah, hi, my name's Noah. I'm from California. My emotional state when I first reached out was tough. I mean, I was in a desperate state. I wasn't sleeping. Yeah, I was just in a really rough go. I had tried all kinds of things, medicine and, exercising, and I just tried a lot, but it was just beyond me. I was in so much pain emotionally that it had just become physical pain. And I was having all kinds of symptoms I'd never felt before, and confusion, and just, I was in a bad place. Super sad. I mean, super sad, super desperate, my emotions were, I had, at one point, I did get to a point where I was driving and I contemplated driving off the road into a tree, and I was on a freeway and I was driving pretty fast. So I really wanted it to end. I wanted to die. I just felt, I was so hurt. I was so just stabbed. Like I felt like I was just stabbed in the heart. Yeah. I couldn't even imagine being any sadder or lower. This wasn't a normal breakup. This was not a normal situation in my life. This is like a accumulation of life's pain, and I was looking for content that was hopeful, and every once in a while I would come across it. I'd be like, oh wow, this could be a medium of hope, right? And then I zeroed in on your videos, and I was like, wow, this guy has good energy. So I felt like it was energy, but it was also language. It was like, oh, whoa, this is something that he knows what I've done or what I've experienced. And this isn't this isn't just a breakup. I mean, I knew that word narcissism. In a breakup, we're always, I blame myself, but I needed language. And so the content was hopeful. I felt like it was a pathway to really where I wanted to go. I didn't want to be in that place anymore of shame, blame, and pain. And I felt like talking to somebody that knew what I was thinking about was like, oh, okay. And I thought, wow, and I really think it's a new model. I am actually a therapist, and I think therapy is effective, but I also think that coaching for specific problems and specific language is also super helpful, because there's nothing better than having somebody help you rewrite a story with language that makes sense. Oh, walk this way. Like, oh, look at this little path. And I was like, oh man. It wasn't like, magical, but it was interesting. It was inquisitive, and I was like, oh, this is what I need. Because it's not easy to name somebody, a narcissist either when you've been in love with them for so long. I mean, that's a harsh word. Yeah, so my first session with Miles was interesting. I didn't really understand it at first. because it was Instagram and I didn't understand that I could actually talk to a real person, and that there was a real person behind it. I thought, well, maybe it's a company, or maybe it's a whole team, or maybe it's a whole, enterprise, or maybe it's just a scam. Maybe it's just a bot. But Miles was really wonderful. He actually sent me a direct message, and we went back and forth on direct messages several times. And I was like, wow, this is a real person who really gets it, that the specific trauma that I'm experiencing is real. That this isn't a make-believe trauma. This is a real trauma. And he's seen it before. He's felt it before. He's experienced it before. I mean, the first words that, I hate to say this, the first word that comes to me came to me is, this is fun. Because, which is the opposite of really, of trauma. Trauma is not fun. But who knows? Maybe rewriting the path of healing could be fun. And so I appreciated that. I appreciated Miles' affect and energy that comes across the screen. And I felt like there was also like the opposite of that. Like we can move towards healing, which can be joyful and hopeful. And so it was nice. I felt super connected to Miles, and I felt like he got it. He'd been there, and he had kind of thought about it. It wasn't just like he had been there, and he had actually thought about where he had been, where he had gone, and where he was moving towards, and how he was moving away from it. And not that there's a formula, but that there is a path, and that, men and women and people can help each other, find that path, whether it be by example, or by just caring, or by sometimes naming things, sometimes labeling things, sometimes giving permission. I really felt like I had permission. I didn't really think of relationships as traumatic, but boy, they have the same symptomology, so why don't we use that word, and they have the same ability to cause wreckage. And so, yeah, I felt like Miles is a trusting soul, and has a good use of seriousness, educationalness, comedy, inquisitiveness, and interest. So it was a good formula for me. I'd say what really came clear to me during our sessions, and what was insightful in our sessions, is that I do have hope, that I do have a will to heal, and that I do have a lot to lose. But more, that I have a kind of a healing mechanism that maybe I had lost, or I had forgotten about, that a healing nature, not just for others, but for myself. I've always been very prone to helping others, but not always prone to helping myself. But I think what's really important for me, and what's powerful for me, is that we have self-healing powers when working with others, and that the others trigger those as well. So just like those other people trigger trauma, other people can trigger, healing powers. And to work with somebody that does that is fun and interesting, and gives you hope. We could laugh, and I could say, the superpowers, Miles knew I had the superpowers, I just had forgotten about them. And we have them, but we forget. And where do they come out? When do they come out? They come out in conversation, in story, in relationship. They come out when two people come together, or three people, or a group come together, and give space for that, instead of the opposite, which is give space for trauma. Someone asked me once, is it the process or is it the journey? And I answered, no, it's the company, And so doing it with Miles is really what worked for me. Well, if you've never met Miles on a one-on-one, I think you would find him to be safe and kind and caring and enjoyable. He brings his attention to, why we're here. We're here to heal. We're here to move forward. We're not here just to dig up the past and hash out the past and dwell. We're here to move forward and feel better and relieve ourselves and tap into our healing. I think Miles is good company. I think he's good company. I think he's a safe, sweet, person to do it with, and that's important for me, like an uncle would. And honestly, I felt like you were like an uncle. I was like, wow, man, this uncle calls me, damn it. And I think Miles saw that in me. He saw this, this broken down therapist guy who had just lost fucking everything. His dogs died, his girlfriend left him, he lost his job. I felt like I lost everything. I needed an uncle. I needed that. But I think what's different is that Miles and his coaching style is very specific to what's going on with this trauma, this specific trauma, and naming it, giving you permission for it to be okay, to be as traumatic as it is. Because I'll tell you what, a lot of people, they don't want to hear it. A lot of people say, oh, it's just a girlfriend, just get another one. Or, oh, it's just a guy, you're good looking, you're fine, you'll go get another one. That's bullshit. This is real. And the research shows it's real. A breakup with a narcissist takes much longer to take than a regular breakup, because you have changed. It has changed you. That relationship has changed you, and you have lost part of who you are. And to recoil and to find yourself again, you need specific guidance. And that's what is different. Where a therapist is going to sit back, and there's a lot of lousy therapists. I know I'm one. I'm not a lousy therapist, but I know therapists are lazy. And when I'm working and I feel like Miles has the same value, is I'm not going to waste people's money. I'm not going to waste people's time. I want to get to a place where I'm helping and we're being effective. And I felt like he checked in with me. Is this working? Is this effective? Did I hear you correctly? Is this what you meant? And I think that those are super important validation questions to make sure that we're making a difference here and we're not wasting each other's time. So I would say coaching, they have to be good, because, no one's going to call them back. Therapy, you don't have to be good, because you can just take your time and you can go for 3 or 4 or 5 sessions of just listening. Well, Miles is going to tell you where he's at. He gives a lot. And I appreciate that active relational work where he'll tell you straight up, oh yeah, I know that one. I felt that one before. So it's much more, it's not therapist up here, client here. It's much more, we meet right here. What I can say is I feel like I'm back. I feel like I'm back out of the hole. I'm not on any medications. I don't even take melatonin to sleep. I'm back to my comfortable body weight. I'm back to my activities, my exercise, my activities. I'm back to socializing. I've also, there's things I've cut out. I've been very comfortable about cutting out. There's certain people that I just, nope. And I have no problem. Matter of fact, the other day, I laughed at somebody and I said, no, I go, this has nothing to do with me. This is all about you. And thanks, but no thanks. And it's their loss. Yeah, beyond just coiling back, I feel like I'm more comfortable setting limits and cutting things out, which I used to never do, ever. And so that's been wonderful. And I feel like I've uncoiled and more. I feel like life it's hard to talk about in those terms, because it's like, oh, is the weather getting better or is the weather getting worse? No, the weather, is what it is. We have a relationship with the weather. I still prefer when it's warm but not hot over when it's cold and rainy. But I can also get a jacket when it's raining, and I can also, get a thinner shirt when it gets hot. So, I can adapt better. I get it. I get that a lot of people don't want to make the call. And the thing is that if you do make the call, you're going to feel better. And sure, everyone needs to get paid. Miles isn't your friend that you can call. He's got much more skill than that. And he's going to stay with you and not try to tell you to pull your bootstraps up and quit acting like a baby. He's going to provide you some skills and some pathways. And so it is an investment. But if you invest in yourself, then maybe you could help somebody someday. These are concrete skills that people need. And and it's kind of like you would never go to a ski hill without a $300 jacket. but you'll jump in the ocean without a $200 wetsuit, and you'll be miserable by yourself in your apartment when you could spend a couple $100 and get yourself unmiserable. So be unmiserable and don't wait, to have to get on your knees. And it's worth it, because this stuff doesn't go away. And I'll say that it doesn't go away both ways. The healing doesn't go away, because once you've had it, you get to keep it. But trauma doesn't go away either if you leave it. It'll just fester. Invest in yourself. You're going to get to keep it. Miles isn't going to waste your time. Let's see some healing. Let's move forward, and you'll get to keep those healing powers. You'll get to keep that hope. That hope will be yours. It's a gift. You gotta sign up. You gotta do it. You gotta show initiative. You gotta ask for it. So let's just quit doing life without good help, because we all need it. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say I need it. So, well, I'll tell you guys, if I could say anything, if you're coming up with excuses of not having enough time, or you don't feel like you're worth it, all those are is concepts. I don't know where you picked those concepts up, but you were not born with them. I mean, when you were a kid, you never would have said that about yourself. And you would have never said, oh, I don't have time for my friends, or I don't have time to heal, I don't have time to cry to my mom, or I don't have time to feel better. You always had time to feel better. And that was the first thing you did when you ran home. It's like you ran home because you wanted to feel better. And anxiety and depression don't have a chance when you're with others. They just don't. They just, and both of those are healable. Nobody was born with anxiety and depression. Those are something that we picked up along the way, and we got to remind ourselves that. And they're public viruses, and we need to take them seriously. But you can't heal alone. And no matter how long you wait, all you're doing is just waiting. And so you got to give yourself some time, and you got to give yourself some credit. And that took time, definitely, to not feel that guilt. It's really easy just to blame myself, but there's more to it. There's always another version, a wider version of the story, and not just narrow version. Guilt tends to be narrow and thick, and there's another little story waiting to come out. For me, that story is that it was a wonderful relationship for as long as it was, and we learned, and we grew, and we grew on, and she grew in one way, and I grew in another. And there's many, many, many blessings to the separation. Many blessings. And I can still love her. I can love her from a distance. And I can feel myself. I can be around people that want to be around me and don't want to change me. I don't have to, I can be my best self around people. And I don't have to be quiet or bite my tongue or not be a full Noah. Just be, I can be me. So yeah, I think everyone's worth it. I think everyone's worth investing in, worth some caring, and worth some growth. Consciousness and personal growth is all there really is in life. I'm sorry, at the end of the day, if you're not doing that, then you're not doing it, because this is going to help all aspects of your life. It's going to help your sleep, your physicalness, your work, relationships, your relationships with your kids. The relationship I have with my kids is awesome. It's a full spring, where I now call them without any hesitation of overwhelm or any kind of, I don't want to bother them, or any of those kind of stupid thoughts that kind of used to interfere. And they call me to bounce ideas, which was always a dream. It was always a fantasy of mine that I would be the kind of dad that a kid would call me and go, hey dad, I don't know, I'm just kind of mulling over this idea. I'm pretty pissed off about this, but I don't know, is it me or is it them? And I'm just like, this is happening right now. You know what I mean? Can't believe this is happening. And so that to me is that's been a wonderful gift of, breaking free of that that other relationship didn't really give me the space to do that, because that relationship had all the answers. And there's some value in all this work. It'll improve your life in all aspects of it, not just your heart, but all your relational skills will get a chance, to get part of you. I'm sticking to it.